Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting episode of Profile Matters. Hey guys, we are back to talk about multiple personalities with our wonderful co-host, Dr. Catherine Gneiting. So we are going to be talking about those today. I don't know a whole lot about multiple personality disorder. I hear some interesting things, whether they be true or not. I know that it is a very controversial field in the area of psychology. So we are going to be talking with Dr. Gneiting about it, and just get her opinion on a couple of things, and see what she thinks about multiple personality disorder and whatnot. So sit back, relax, pop open a bottle of Chardonnay, or get a glass of wine or a beer or something, and hope you guys are ready to slice this open and start poking around. All right, guys, here we go.
Hey, Cameron, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Hi.
I should have stood up.
I am fine. It's so wonderful to see you again. This is great.
It is.
Okay, so we're going to talk today about
multiple personality disorder.
Yay.
Disorder. Yeah, multiple personality disorder.
Right. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did you want to know about multiple personality?
Well, what is multiple personality? First, mostly what I know is what we see in popular media and what you read in stories. That new movie where the guy kidnaps the girls and he's
Split,
and he's freaking out, having different personalities. You see it. Law and Order, that was a big thing. There were some cases. A lot of it was with women.
Imagine that. Because they're all hysterical.
But it's always every time I see it, then they argue the multiple personality defense that they've got different personalities.
Right.
So,
but actually, most people, if they're going to try and get off on a charge, they're not going to use something, an insanity plea or not a multiple personality. I mean, imagine axe murderers or us. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't do that. Bobby did. It wasn't me. There was a movie, Primal Fear, with Richard Gere and Edward Norton.
Yes.
Great movie. Did you see that?
I ended up watching it, yes.
Yes, that
really
was
good.
very good. And he tried using that whole multiple personality. And they were like, oh, yeah, he's got multiple personality. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And in the end, sorry, spoiler alert, in the end, he's like, ha, 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 I got you, didn't I? There never was anybody else. It was always me. It was always Roy, But in the third DSM, actually I was going to look up what year that was, but I think it was I'd like to say around the 40s or the 50s. That was when it was introduced to be put into the Diagnostic Statistical Manual by Dr. Wilbur. And this was based on the movie Sybil. At that time it was, just a book. Excuse me. And they were talking about this woman who had 16 different personalities. And, oh my God, it's terrible. Heavens, how does she do that? And multiple personality supposedly came about from extreme sexual torture or some other kind of trauma. But I do need to clarify, for you people listening, I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am a therapist. Okay, so just in case you guys are wondering, any psychiatrists out there listening and you still believe in multiple personality, feel free to write in and, send us your cases. That's great. But I personally don't believe it's true that multiple personality is I don't think so. Because of the fact that the person who was Sybil, her real name was Shirley Mason. She grew up somewhere in the Midwest to Seventh-day Adventist family, and she was very isolated. And in the Seventh-day Adventist culture, you can't have an imagination. You don't play with dolls. You don't look at magazines. So she had nobody. She was an only child. She was going to a school that was not Seventh-day Adventist, so she was totally ostracized from any kids. So, well, what happens? My goodness, she was a smart kid, and she developed some little playmates. Call them Danny and Peggy and, whatever. Enter Dr. Wilbur, several years later, who's a psychiatrist who's trying to make a name for herself and trying to, be like, oh yes, this is great. I've got a person who has multiple personality disorder, and I've got it documented and everything. And, then you're like, okay, nobody else has this. What's going on? What's kind of happening with this? So this case became, really famous, and then they got a writer. I can't remember her name. Flora, I believe, is something, but, you can look this up online, the book Sybil. And, she's looking for a Nobel Prize, in writing. Oh my gosh, this is his case. Well, she starts investigating, and you're like, okay, this is a small town in the Midwest, and there's all this sexual trauma going on, and nobody knows about it? It's like, something's suspicious. A little fishy. Yeah, so that's just my own particular take on it. Yeah. After reading the book Sybil Exposed. And you can watch the little YouTube, there's a YouTube clip of when she did, I can't remember this woman's name. I'm sorry. I'm sounding very uneducated on this. Sybil Exposed was a book about how, this whole phenomena came about and how the hype came up. And after I read the book and watched the little clip, I started thinking, surely that can't be right. No way. I mean, this has been in the DSM-3, in the DSM-4. Now they've switched it to called dissociative disorder in the DSM-5. That can't be right, that this was... But as I started looking at it and doing my own personal research, not that I'm an authority, but I just did my own personal research on multiple personality and dissociative disorder. The people who were coming out to be multiple personality disorder, 9 times out of 10, they're women. And if it's sexual abuse, what about all these other people who have had horrible, horrible sexual abuse? They didn't split. So, okay, there's no, what is the word? Regulation. Whereas somebody who is schizophrenic is going to hear voices. That's part of the diagnosis. But they're saying the multiple personality is, you're believing that these other personalities are out and that you're, the one is evil and they don't know about the other one. And in the movie Split, he's even saying that, oh, well, this one's diabetic and nobody else is. It's like, your brain is still the same, I'm sorry. Yeah. Your body is still the same. How can one be diabetic and one not? So, yeah, it's total fantasy. That's my own personal opinion.
Well, that's fascinating because
multiple personality, I believe, is total fantasy.
Because when you hear, and just to clarify, when you say dissociative disorder, dissociative. Sorry, I can't speak today.
That's okay.
Identity disorder.
Yes.
That's because I've heard that the term. I've heard the term with the identity in there before, so I was just making sure that I was on the same.
Well, some of them, some people would call it dissociative identity disorder, dissociative disorder. In the DSM-5, I believe there's 3 different types. Dissociative. I could look it up for you.
Yes.
Hold on. Because I just looked at that just a second ago, and they had... hang on just a second.
Yeah.
One is called dissociative identity disorder. And they're saying right on here, disruption of identity characterized by 2 or more distinct personality states, which may be described in some cultures as an experience of possession. Well, if you look back before the DSM-3, when they're like, oh, they're having dissociative, they're having multiple personalities. These are by shamans. These are people who are going into a trance, and yes, they are being possessed. So, yes, it is an entirely other personality, but I got news for you. It's not within themselves. It's a demon. These are in, cultures in Africa and India. I don't know, probably maybe the American Indians.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And yes, that is multiple personality, but it's not your own personality. You are saying that I want to be possessed by a demon who is then going to trick me into spouting off all sorts of stuff. There's also dissociative amnesia and inability to recall important autobiographical information. usually of a traumatic or stressful nature. Well, nowadays we would call that PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not being able to remember it, that is one of the symptoms of PTSD. Depersonalization or derealization disorder. This is the presence of persistent or recurrent experiences of depersonalization or derealization, where you're just like, this is unreal, this is a detachment. Again, that's PTSD. Because we ask people specifically, do you ever feel like you are outside of your body? Do you ever feel like you are witnessing what happened from away, from away from you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what depersonalization and derealization. However, I would not give somebody that disorder. I would say that's PTSD.
Okay.
Because that's what it is.
That makes total sense.
Right.
When you're reading something and say,
Mm-hmm.
or you're watching something or hearing
Right.
a story and somebody says, I was there, but I wasn't there.
Exactly.
I was just, the next thing I know, I'm standing over, the table and it was flipped over, but I don't remember flipping the table
Yeah, I
over.
don't remember doing that.
Yeah. Get so lost in
Well,
the
so
moment.
it wasn't, Randy, your other personality who
Yeah.
did that. No,
It was-
you just kind of had a little blackout kind
An
of a
episode.
thing. Yeah.
You just get kind of really,
Right.
and I guess it makes sense. You get a lot of people who, what is it? They call them rage blackouts, where they just
Yes.
get so upset and
Yes.
they say they see red, and then just
Some
kinda,
people call this a red out.
a red out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
That was what my supervisor used to call it.
a red
It's
out.
called a red out, when you are so mad that you just, I personally have never seen red when I was that mad, but, it's the whole thing about you're so mad and you're in just a rage.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know what's happened. And then, my goodness, all of a sudden, your wife's head is bashed into the wall. Oh, my.
You've lost 5 friends, and
Yes.
then you know, next day you're like, you don't remember saying that stuff, and it's like, I don't remember saying that. I
No,
was
that
just so
wasn't
upset.
me. That was Paul. My other personality.
That was Jeff.
But, they only say about men having multiple personality on TV. In real life, when all this was happening, like after Sybil came out,
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Wilbur continued to see, all of a sudden we're seeing, cases of multiple personality.
Popping up.
Imagine, they're all women. These are all women who are, almost all of them, now I can't say this, I wasn't there myself, but as looking back on the reports, most of them were borderline personalities. They were easily manipulated. A lot of the therapists were making leading questions.
Mhm.
And we have to be very careful as therapists not to lead our clients to say what we want them to say. It has to be their own experience.
Mm.
Well, if you're a very susceptible young girl and you want to please your therapist, of course, my mother was horrible to me. Oh, my father beat me. There was this whole thing of implanted memories that went on. It was horrible in the 70s. And there were cases against child care. A couple of really big cases in California where there were child care facilities
Mm-hmm.
that said that they were molesting the kids. And I don't know who was perpetrating it, the kids, the parents, whoever. But these were implanted memories. And people that would come back and say, oh, my father molested me and raped me. I found out under hypnosis. Daddy, how could you do this to me? And breaking up families and doing all sorts of silliness came out of this.
Wow, and it's crazy because actually, I'm thinking back to like it all throughout history. Salem witch trials, those things.
Yes.
Crucible, big thing. The
Same
girls are
thing.
trying to appease their parents
Mhm.
and not take the blame, so they're making up the stories of,
Yes.
oh no, they're witches, and this person's a witch, this
Yes.
person's a witch, and all those innocent people were being killed left and right, and they weren't actually witches.
Right.
And it was just as a way to to get out of it.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fascinating when you think
It
about
really
it,
is,
because
yeah.
it's all throughout history, and I've heard that happen. I've heard that where the implanted memories and where you
Right.
start believing the lie.
You start believing
you
the
concoct
lie.
the lie, and you get so into it, you actually think it's real.
Right.
And
that's kind of scary.
It is.
You believe you're unimpressed about yourself is one thing. I am so wonderful. But,
Yeah.
really, when you're hurting other people, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah, that's terrifying, really. Whew.
Right. But you had a bunch of questions for me. I set them down. You have them over there?
I have them right here.
Oh,
like
what do
magic.
you have? Just in case there are some things that I have not brought up.
Let's see. We've got that. Let's see. And, well, I mean, I don't want to say debunked, but I kind of like that word.
Yeah.
Is it true that it's been debunked? I mean,
well, there are a lot of people. That's why I said that. Any psychiatrists out there listening, and you still believe this, I'm fine. I just read an article by it's Thigpen and Cleckley. Cleckley is the first person who came up with the psychopath test.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the father of psychopathy, so to speak.
By the way, we'd like to get him on the show.
He's dead.
Oh,
he's an old guy. He's dead. So anyway, we'd like to get Hare on, Robert Hare.
Hare, that's
and
who it
he's
was.
the one that was talking about, he used so many references to Cleckley that I then looked up Cleckley. I'm like, oh, okay, and then him and Dr. Cleckley, and I believe it's Dr. Thigpen, had written an article on, there was a movie that had come out, The Three Faces of Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that back in probably the 60s?
I haven't seen it,
70s?
but that sounds interesting.
Right, it's an old movie. And I can't remember the movie, but I kind of skimmed over it because I do remember talking about it when I was in my master's courses. And they were talking about Eve White was, came into therapy and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden one day, Eve Black came in. And I was like, okay, really? White, black, okay. Is this the good person and the bad person? And Eve Black did all the mean things, and she said that she was the keeper of the memories, and, and I can, make Eve White not say anything. She's just a goody-goody, and I do this, and I do that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, what? And this is from a scientist. Oh my goodness, what is this? Mm-hmm. And then in the end, they come up with, I can't remember the name of the combined person, Jane or Lorna or something like that. And that was the combination of Eve White, Eve Black, and, the new person. I think her name was Jean, something like that. Anyway, and, they're saying how, okay, this is what happens and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, this is all. Then they went on to explain that we all have parts of our personality that are different. And yeah, you're not going to remember every single thing that happened. And there are all different facets. I look at it as a diamond. All different facets of your personality.
I like that. Diamond.
And I'm just like, okay, good. Because I was beginning to get worried about, Dr. Cleckley was like thinking this was like for real. But I was like, wait a minute. But they were talking about the whole fact that because of all these different facets of our different personalities, that I just had a really great thought and I just lost it, and I'm so sorry.
You're okay.
Oh, it's gone now. I'll think of it in a second.
That's okay.
Go on to another question.
Well, I mean, I wanted to add on to that what you were talking about the whole. I love the idea of the person being like a diamond and having those different crevices
all
where
different
all the personalities. Because it's when you go throughout history or in different religions and stuff like that, or different any different belief systems, it's always. And even in, I think, is inner desire, or the id, we always break it down in these different increments, and yin and yang.
Right.
Good and evil. It's always broken down, and then you see the little, and I had to have that explained to me when I was a kid. I'm like, what is a yin and yang? And they're like, oh, well, the big piece, and they're kind of, it's half and half. It's good, evil, black, white, and then see how the little dots are opposite colors too, and it evens it all out.
It does.
This whole person is all you. You can't just be one or the other.
Well,
you're all of
you're
them.
not.
You might be different person, different. Have different more than You might be more bad at one time and have a little bit more good. Well, that's like that
personality profile I wrote.
Yeah,
you have 14 different parts of it, and you have a part of every single bit of it. Mm-hmm. Some is higher, some is lower. I only pick out the top.
Yeah.
4 because that's all I'm interested in, and I remember the thought now. What they said was that the longer a person is out of school, the more they think that multiple personality is fake. It's like when you're in school and you're thinking, I don't know what it is, you're getting all these, books and reading and learning, and oh yeah, well maybe it's true, or maybe it's not. The longer you are away from school, you're actually,
in the field.
Yeah, in the field, doing therapy, interacting with your clients. You're like, No.
No.
No. Because, the movie Shutter Island. Did you watch that?
I did not watch it yet, but that's the one with, I've seen the trailers for it.
DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for you, so I don't want to tell you about what happens in that one. But this is psychosis. And it's not a multiple personality. So you have either borderline or schizophrenic. If you're hearing voices and you think that there's something else going on, you might be schizophrenic. You might be having some kind of a psychotic break. You might be having, other issues, but not multiple personality.
Yeah.
And it's only now in TV that we're hearing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And
because media is...
Because of the media. They think it's entertaining. It is entertaining.
It is.
Let me blame it on, Paula. Paula did that. I didn't do that. I'm really good. She did it. She's evil. Yes.
It's easy to say, but,
right.
Gotta back it up.
Right.
There was one other question I had on here. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Did we cover most of them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Just kind of like, bam! Well, I think you kind of covered this too. Some scientists have thought that DID stemmed from an abusive, sexual, physical, or otherwise childhood, event.
Right, but the problem with that, the book, A Child Called It. Now, I have not read that, mainly because I've heard that it's just really very disturbing.
We, believe it or not, and it was very disturbing, our teacher read it to us.
Yowza.
In 6th grade.
You're kidding.
Definitely not. And
and your parents agreed to that. Wow.
I don't know if... I almost want to say...
They did not know.
I actually think that we signed a waiver for us to be able to... For them to do it. Because, they got to do everything like that now.
Right.
But I think that we did sign a waiver for that. And I remember my mom being like, oh, this book that bad, why are they going to go over it? But I think back then that's when it was such a big thing. More and more, I think, in our school... we started hearing more and more about how parents were neglecting their kids, and parents are having teachers are trying to step in to try to help because they can only do so much.
Right.
But when we read the book, and it was, I don't want to say it was traumatizing, but when I remember we got about halfway through it, I'm like, I got to start checking out, going somewhere else because this is just bringing me down, man.
Yeah.
Because it was so
everything
this kid went through.
But the whole the book was about resiliency and the fact that in spite of what happened to him, he did overcome. And he did write 2 other books after that. I don't know, A Man Called Dave or...
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, we didn't get to those ones. But I did hear that he did those.
Right, he did. And that was the whole thing. But somebody, one of my therapists had told me that was the most... the worst case of child abuse in the history of California at that time. And I was like, oh no, I really don't want to read it.
Yeah, no.
I was like, oh, that's just doesn't sound very happy. I know that sounds weird because I read about psychopaths all the time, but it's because I want to stay away from that.
Yes, take a step back. And I think that's what, in a large I'm starting to realize more and more that's a large reason why I cover some of those topics and read it. I broke it down that's actually my biggest fear. Every night before I go to bed, I triple check the locks in the house.
Oh.
I always have some sort of weapon near me when I'm sleeping.
Okay.
And as I thought more and more about it, more and more of my dreams were always me running from somebody who's trying to get me or somebody breaking into the house, because that's what terrifies me the most. And I wanted to do an episode to people listening and people watching for Halloween. What are you scared of? And I'm sitting there, and I actually thought about it myself. What am I afraid of? I'm like, well, I don't like water because I can't see what's down there. And I'm like, but am I deathly scared of that? I'm like, no. Think about what you've always had nightmares about. I'm like, I don't like spiders. I'm like, that's not it. And Jess goes, well, you triple check the locks every night before we go to bed. When we didn't have a lock system, you'd wedge a chair in front of the door. You're scared of somebody breaking in,
breaking in the house.
or scared of somebody trying to attack you or kill you, having to fend for yourself terrifies you, and it does. And
Okay.
that when now the more and more I do this, I haven't had a dream like that in a while.
Okay.
It's still always in the back of my mind. So
That's
it's my
interesting. We'll have to
deepest
do
fear.
dream analysis.
We'd have to, because it's always
That's
I'm
pretty
running
interesting.
from a masked figure, and
Right.
he's chasing me to the house, and I'm
Right.
doing everything I can to get away from him. It's every horror movie, scary movie you've ever seen with
Right.
a killer that's trying to get you,
Right.
and it just always stems back to, I don't know, something that maybe happened in my childhood, or
No,
you
I
never
don't think
know.
so. I don't think that's what it is. I really think it's sometimes we kind of feed into our own fears. It's not always
sense.
what happened in our childhood.
God, I
Sometimes
hope not.
it's the movies we watch, the books we read.
And I think, I would, that's probably why.
Right.
And I guess more and more that's why I like to cover the stuff, is to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I want to say get over the fear of it. Because when I
Right.
was scared of spiders, what am I being my parent? My dad got a tarantula.
Oh
for
my!
me,
Okay,
to try to get over
so you
the
can
fear.
get over the fear of it.
And
So
it
I
helped.
should come in and break in your house?
In the middle of the night? No, I wouldn't recommend.
Not a good idea.
Not a
You
good
have
idea.
a weapon next to my bed.
The spider thing seemed to work a little bit. I don't mind
Okay.
garden spiders outside the house, as long as if they're not. If they're in the house, I want to get them out of the house. I don't
Right.
like them being able to get around on me. That's what I don't like.
Right.
But I know that the more and more I've done this, I learned that there is just random acts of violence that happen, and you just can't control that. The best thing to do is to be prepared, and that's
That's
why
true.
I like us
That's
doing
true.
this and covering
Yeah.
what we cover, to prepare or to better avoid situations that lead you down that path to
Right.
become susceptible to that kind
Right,
of
right.
attack. Don't trust the wrong person, because don't be telling everybody where you live, because that person could be an axe
You
murderer.
don't know who they are.
You don't know who they are.
Right. Right.
So, but that's a big thing. That's why I like doing these, and why
Yeah.
more and more I'm glad you're on here, is to
Well,
teach
yeah,
me more.
And being safe and being prepared is definitely a good idea.
Yes, it is.
Fair warned is forewarned.
Yep, forewarned is
I'm getting fair first.
getting fair first. But yeah, so.
But I think we're almost out of time. Do you have any more questions?
No, we covered everything, and it was great. I
Great.
loved it. And
Yes.
and of everybody who's watching and listening,
Yes.
this was her first time as co-host.
Awesome.
We're just it's kind of like we're just chatting, and it's
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
For you listeners, the next person we are going to have on the show, pretty excited about this, Wendy L. Patrick, and if you guys don't know who that is, I would suggest typing her name. I don't want to give everything away, because you guys will be like, yeah, just type in her name, look up who she is. She's a big deal, and
Yes.
we're very excited to have her on the show. We have actually mentioned her book several times.
Yeah.
Red Flags, and she will be joining us on the show, and definitely read through all of her bios, because she's got some very interesting stuff, and she is so busy apparently.
Well, I am so excited that we're going to have her on. I cannot believe that you were able to get in touch with her.
I cannot either. Sometimes it's just luck.
I'll tell you, I don't think so. I think it's your determination and
I surely
the fact
try.
that you really want to get this information out there. So,
And she did say that was a
This is
big
pretty
thing. She
awesome.
loves education. She thinks that education is extremely important. That's why she likes doing these. So
Right.
I'm going to keep doing them. And so will
Right.
Dr. Gneiting.
and all of you out there on the video YouTube, we will see you later.
See you later.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Alright guys, we are back. I hope you guys did enjoy that episode of Profile Matters. Multiple personalities. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. I am looking forward to being able to do our next interview, and not that this one wasn't great, because it really was. We always enjoy each other's company, me and Dr. Gneiting, so we love hanging out and talking and kind of just teaching you guys, and I am learning so much doing this podcast. It's amazing. It's opening my mind to so many things, and I think it is so cool, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as well, and I hope we are not boring the crap out of you. I really hope we're not. We got a next episode coming up with Wendy L. Patrick, as you just heard us talking about, and it is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait to you guys to be able to hear us talk to her, because she is quite a fascinating individual. That is for darn sure. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying these episodes. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email us. You can email me at killercam KILLERKAM123 at yahoo.com. That's my email for Profile Matters. I do check it all the time, so please ask me any questions or have any concerns, or any kind of just anything, comments, whatever. Just reach out. You can also see us. We are on Podbean. You can send, the comments are on our website too. So if you want to go to our website, we've got them, you can put them right on there. I don't know if you guys have been on our website yet, but it's, of course, profilematters.wordpress.com. Feel free to go on there, check out all the cool articles and stuff we have. Comment, please. I want to know what you guys think about the show, and if you guys are having a good time, and if you guys are getting bored, and you want us to cover something certain. I promise you we are going to be hopping back on the killer train here very shortly. After our episode with Wendy L. Patrick, I have a couple of really cool ones. We'll be doing Jack the Ripper at some point. H.H. Holmes, a couple other people. Thinking about doing Richard Ramirez. But of course, in these interviews, when we do these, we want to try to get names of people you guys will be interested in, bigger names, so you guys can know exactly who they are, and people sometimes tied to the cases. And as you know, it's very difficult to get people tied to those cases. Sometimes they've got on and gotten really famous, and they're just very hard to get in touch with. And sometimes they're really busy and can't do interviews, or sometimes they don't want to do interviews for lack of me trying, because I do try, but sometimes they don't want to be involved in anything like that anymore. They've kind of been spent, so we have to respect that. Not saying that you guys don't, and not saying I don't, but of course, I wanted to just come clean with you guys, so you guys know that I do try to reach out to some of these people, and it's very difficult. Sometimes it's reopening old wounds, and they just don't want to deal with that, and I don't want to press the issue. I don't want to be one of those journalists that I want to be a compassionate journalist. And that sounds silly, especially with true crime and whatnot. But you can do it. And even if I'm the first person in the world to have to do it, then I'm going to do it. But I'm going to do it to make sure that I'm respectful to the families, respectful to the people involved in the cases, and I'm respectful to you guys, and to come clean and tell you that, look, I tried, but I couldn't, and I hope you guys understand why. And I'll never take anybody like that for granted. Can't and won't. If it means that I can't do an episode about it, then I won't. If it means I have to talk and yammer the whole time by myself, then I will. Like I said, I'm in it for education and teaching you guys. I'm learning myself. Like I said, this is not just about me and you guys. It's about just education in general, and I think that's a big deal. So. But I hope you guys are enjoying these. And sorry, sometimes it gets a little preachy. But I hope you guys have had a good time here on this episode. And we'll be back next time to talk about, red flags and the flag system, and how to spot dangerous individuals, and how to keep them at bay, and how to avoid these psychopaths and killers and bad people. And we'll be talking with Wendy L. Patrick about it. And like I said, Wendy L. Patrick. Look her up and check out her amazing rap sheet, because she is a busy bee. But anyways, I hope you guys have had a great night and a great time. And we'll be talking to you next time on Profile Matters. Good night, guys.